I'm Pong like ping pong, and I live in the beautiful sunshine state of Florida. I live in the Gulf Coast, Tampa area. I am the oldest of six, and I'm currently working as an actress and real estate broker and small business owner. I look forward to this interview with Keith.
The whole point of my talk show is to show people that even with having a learning disability, I can sell them out to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities. Never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are, who you're going to be. So prove to them, sell them out to something. You're watching the KeithAndrewNetWork. It's season 12, episode 13. I am your host, Keith Andrew, along with our beautiful guests who introduced themselves in the beginning of the show. With that being said, we're going to jump right into the interview process. First interview subject I would like to talk to you about is icebreakers. Tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Pong, like ping pong. Currently, I am an actress and small business owner. I live in the beautiful sunshine state of Florida, in Central Florida. A little bit about myself. What do you want to like to know? I love spicy food. I love dancing. I've been in the film industry as far as video and audio production since the early 2000s. I actually went to school and studied audio and video production. But as far as acting, I've been doing that for about 3.5, 4 years now. Let's see here. I am married, no children, but I do have two granddaughters, two cute granddaughters. I'm the oldest of six. The rest of my family lives in Minnesota. Sometimes you'll kind of hear a Wisconsin accent because I grew up in Wisconsin. So there are certain words that I say that people know I'm from the Midwest. I grew up in Wisconsin, but I was born in a refugee camp in southern Thailand. So technically, I came to the United States as a refugee.
Oh, nice. So you're living an American dream.
Yeah, definitely.
So you mentioned audiovisual. When you were in college, were you a study nerd or party animal, and what did you major in?
I'm pretty much a nerd. I'm a nerd. I mean, I did like to party as well, but growing up in an Asian family, very competitive with getting A's and A pluses and doing really well. So I pretty much, I spent a lot of time more in school and projects. I got an associate's degree in audio production, and then I got a bachelor's degree in actually, you know what? Bachelor's degree in recording arts. So those are my actual degrees, but doing both the audio and visual, we had a lot of learning on filmmaking, live sound engineering, recording studio work. That's a lot of fun.
No, absolutely. Who influenced you to get into that type of work?
Wow. I think I went through many phases in my life. And at that moment in time, I was very much into the entertainment world. I was DJing, so I used to DJ. I was DJing, I was a dancer, and I wanted to be more involved with the entertainment world as a whole and kind of understand more the technical aspects of the film world and the entertainment world, the music world. And so that's why I decided that I would go to school and at least learn the technical aspects and kind of see where that would take me. So at that time, I was greatly influenced by the fact that I was a DJ and a dancer, and I knew a lot of people in the night industry. So,
Well, let me ask you this. Next subject I want to ask you, it's about movies. What movie influenced you to become an Indian? Let me rephrase that. What movie impacted your life? Say, you know what? It's because of this movie I want to get into the entertainment world or the audio visual. For me, that one movie has to be Almost Famous. Because of that movie, I always wanted to be a personal assistant. I kind of gave up on that dream, But when I was in school, and there's this guy who was in charge of the audiovisual department, and he took a liking to me, and he let me do lights and sounds for the show. We had our own radio station, and so I created my own network. So the Keith Angie Network's been around for a long time, but the talk show idea only came to fruition 11 years, almost 11 years ago. What movie influenced you?
Hmm. So I have to admit, there's really not a single movie. Growing up, I I I always loved action adventure, sci-fi fantasy, and horror. Those and right now horror is like my number one genre that I default to watch. But like movies, Star Wars, all the Star Trek series, The Princess Bride, any of the horror movies back then, Nightmare on Elm Street, Jason. I mean, we loved watching movies that because it was always a family thing. If there was one thing that the family loved to do was to watch movies. So watching movies was a way for us to uh, bond and to kind of be together as a family versus always being out and about. So we watched a lot of movies. I can't really say what really influenced me, but I do love doing the action adventures and the sci-fi fantasy. I love them all. It's too hard to pick just one.
What were some of your favorite sports when you were growing up? Did you play soccer, football, cheerleading?
Sports, huh? I mean, I was more of a book nerd growing up, but I did martial arts growing up. I did taekwondo. That's probably the only quote unquote sports. And I believe in high school I did 1 year of softball.
What about, did you ever get the chance to do one of those human pyramids or not into that?
No. Oh, you mean like for cheerleading and stuff?
I mean, I get for circus acts, but yeah, I
Oh,
guess.
no. No, we never did that. So growing up in Wisconsin in high school, I actually our parents moved us to a small town in the middle of Wisconsin. Um, and for during physical education, like we learned, we did volleyball, hockey, but we did things like line dancing and stuff like that. So, um, yeah, it was a different time. So,
I love that stuff. I'm a loser. So the next question I want to ask you is next actually a new subject I want to talk about. It's breaking the glass ceiling. With everything that you've accomplished, have you ever been stereotyped and have you felt like you broke that mold of this whole stereotyping?
it's a good question. I feel like my experience in life has been vastly different than a lot of minorities. Um, Even though we came over as refugees, I was like maybe 2 or 3 months, and our parents didn't know English. Our parents worked really hard to make sure that we had a roof over our head and that we did really good in school. And they wanted to make sure that we understood that we needed to be independent and to be able to take care of ourselves. I feel like I take a lot of my energy and my desire to be my own boss and stuff from our parents. So I kind of grew up, in a kind of like a middle class. I guess at that time you would be considered middle class or lower middle class, with family values. And I didn't really experience once I got out of that, since I focused a lot on education. Um, I also, since I'm the oldest, and I feel like being the oldest kind of gives you a different attitude and mindset when it comes to when you leave the family. So I feel like I had the attitude when I left home because I went from Wisconsin and moved down to Miami, two different worlds. And I feel like I just I didn't feel like there was a glass ceiling for me. I felt that everything I wanted to do, and if I put my mind to it and I wanted it bad enough, I did it and I got it. I didn't really have people telling me I can't do it. I have to admit, I don't think I've ever had anyone tell me that I can't do it. Now, sometimes my husband tells me that my dreams are so big, but but he never tells me that I can't do it. So I think I've been very fortunate, and I don't know if that's just because of my energy and how I was raised and just how I put myself forth into the world, where maybe people look at me and they're like, I can't tell her that she can't do it. You know what I mean?
Well, sometimes you have to be your own personal cheerleader.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't know. It's one of those where even money didn't stop me. Like when I left home living in Miami, I definitely was one of those starving college students. You know what I mean? Like starving. And I would have to work like 2 or 3 jobs just to make sure that I could pay rent. But I think I feel like if I really wanted to do something, I just created a plan and I did it. And if I failed, I failed and I just kept moving on. And I feel like a big part of that comes from watching, our parents, how they would open and close businesses or do multiple different types of businesses. And they just kind of kept going. They just, like, okay, well, if we failed in this, let's figure out another way to make money or to be prosperous so
No, I
I
agree with you. Sometimes, for me, I don't have a BAs. I don't have a bachelor's. A lot of people say I have a bachelor's in BS because I like talking out of my ass. But, it's just, I don't usually do my catchphrase during the show, but it's about proving people wrong, showing them labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be. So prove to them you can still amount to something. And people say, well, we never heard of a disabled person being a talk show host. We never heard of a disabled person doing what you do. So I'm like, well, I'm glad to be the first to show you that the whole stereotypical thing doesn't really dictate. Well, let me ask you this in another way. When you started your career, what attracted you to begin your career? And have you ever been stereotyped?
mm, I mean, if I haven't stereotyped, it's a good stereotype. Smart, smart leadership. If I haven't stereotyped, it was never really done to my face in a way. Um, I mean, I love the when it comes to being inspired to be acting because when you're an actor or actress, you're a storyteller, right? You're an entertainer, and it's your job to bring to life a character that's part of a story. And I often go for roles that may have originally been asking for a man, right? Um, I will often go for roles that may ask for a different ethnicity, right? So I feel like a lot of people are open, right? Um, they're open to other ideas, and if people are willing to take on something that people didn't originally think of, I find that people tend to be a little bit more open to see what someone can do, right? So I truly, like I said, Keith, I feel like my life, I just don't hit a lot of stuff that I don't encounter a lot of things that would be your normal stereotype or glass ceiling or racism or any of that stuff. It's one of those where it just like it doesn't happen to me. I know it happens, right? But it hasn't yet. It hasn't yet. So knock on wood, right? Knock on wood. Whatever it is.
So the next one I want to ask you is how has COVID-19 impacted your career? And do you see life in a different point of view?
So I started my acting career, I think kind of it's more like in the middle of COVID-19, right? So it started in 2021. So it didn't really impact because at that time I was starting and I was looking to build my resume, make connections. So a lot of things were kind of like online, anyways, online social media, um, uh, meeting people who know people. So COVID for me didn't affect me that much because I was still in the beginning stages of my acting. Um, and then when it comes to my other business, I was still my industry was still considered essential. So I my other work, right, didn't really stop. It might have slowed down a little bit, just because of everyone's health scares and possible health issues, health challenges. But in the end, I was still working through COVID, both jobs. So,
No, absolutely. Now, the next one I want to ask you, well, one thing to ask you best. A lot of people, joked about, I wish I can stay home. I wish I could then, just work for, I can't talk, work from home, stay at home, do everything at home. And we kind of got that when you were kind of punched in the face with this whole lockdown and everyone felt like they're under house arrest. And now it's the complete opposite. We can't get people go back to work. We need people in the office. We need people who work in schools. We need people to work in prisons and mental institutions. But it's kind of like the baby routine. You cry, wham, 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 wham. Yeah, I want this, I want that. Okay, here you go. Now you got it. And now it's the complete opposite because now you got what you wanted and I talk with my hands, force habit. And then now you got what you wanted. It's now like people are struggling for businesses. The businesses are growing. I don't care if they say unemployment's down. That's complete BS. If unemployment is down, explain to me why stores are closing. Where I'm from, Best Buy closed their location, Staples closed, the malls are dying. Yes, there are some stores that are opening, but businesses are struggling. Um, you know, they're forcing people to use self-checkouts. They don't have cashiers. Let me ask you this one. How do you feel about inflation?
I mean, I think we all feel the same, don't we?
That's true.
um, I mean, that's a lot to unbox, right? There's obviously right now, most of us are hurting, and in the U.S. Um, I mean, there's much we could talk about, and I don't want to get too political or anything, but in the U.S., it's the divide between middle class and the wealthy class is getting bigger, right? And we have a lot of leadership that is that most of us feel is not quite helpful in helping the general people that they are governing. Um, outside of that, it's when it comes to businesses, unemployment, inflation, there's so many things that are out of our control. Um, and if there's one thing that's constant in life, it's change. And if a business or a person um, does not have part of their business plan where they can pivot and they can change uh, to adapt to whatever's happening. Obviously not all businesses can, do a quick change around, or some businesses, depending on how big or what type of business it is, it takes a longer time to make the adjustment. Um, businesses are going to come and go. It's a matter of how adaptable are we, and when it comes to actual wealth and finances and inflation, unfortunately, a lot of it has to, unfortunately, a part of it is connected to our leadership, right? There's things that we can't control. But there are things that are being put into law or enforced upon us that um, we can either choose to follow or not follow.
Yeah, I agree with
But
you.
yeah, yeah. So hopefully, as a collective, right, a collective of people, citizens, we can work together to figure out what we can do to make our nation, or at least make our state or communities. I always tell people start small, right? Figure out a way to make your community better, and then from your community, branch it out to maybe your state, and then maybe we can go nationwide. So it's a matter of people putting aside their heavy opinions and egos and trying to figure out what can we do to improve our economic state.
It's funny, I started to smile, laugh because you mentioned it. You said the word. Now I'm gonna friggin' butcher it. When people come together, inclusive, yeah, whatever the word was, and as the first thing that I thought about when people coming together is like, are you hinting towards the Borg? It,
So
or
the what?
the Borg is from Star Trek.
Oh,
And you will be assimilated. Resistance is futile.
no, no. I mean, there's a lot of things that are happening, and I'm sure there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that we, as the normal everyday person, does not know, right? And then of course there's always a lot of those, if you want to call them conspiracy theorists or conspiracy theories. I'm sorry, conspiracy theories. And then there's also, you know, facts, information, data. I always tell people, in the end, you can always choose to allow uh, all of that to change who you are and change your ethics and morals and your actions, right? Or you can be yourself and you can be a person who makes their own minds and decisions. They take all that information, right? We take all this information that we get and we make our own informed decision and do what we can to just live a good life, right? And to help maybe one or two other people live a good life, right? And for me, one of my hopes for acting, I don't need to become famous, and I don't need to become a millionaire acting. But I would love, when it comes to acting, I would love to be able to create a platform where, instead of just the hundreds of people that I'm helping locally, I can help thousands of people. I can help millions of people because I'm a little bit more well known now versus, only people who know me in Central Florida, right? So I would love to just be able to create a platform where my voice is heard by more people, which means I can help more people, right? So
Well, you're
uh,
absolutely right. And there's people that think September 11th was an inside job. They think, well, I mean, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about 9/11. The Titanic was doomed from the start. So, I mean, this was 1912. So, I mean, there, from what I saw and from what I saw in videos, I'm not a big reader. So, I gotta say, well, from what I read, because obviously it's all in videos, but from what I was heard and was told, there are some red flags for the Titanic that they cheaped out, and it's human error. That one may or may not be true, but the September 11th one, you're a complete nut job if you actually think that's true. But McRombey, it's just because of McRombey. I would have voted for him in 2012, but a lot of people say Hurricane Sandy finished him off. And it's kind of true. When Hurricane Sandy happened, Fish Smuggler was nowhere to be found. He magically, like his underwear, he magically vanished. He just went in the air. No one heard him, no one saw him. And I'm not a big fan of Obama, but I agree with some things that he did. Trump is a orange Cheeto, but I do agree with some things the Orange Cheeto said. Now, with that being said, I'm not a fan of Joe Biden because they're all corrupt. We can say that for another show.
Yeah.
But the reason I hate McRomney is because him and his stupid Bain Capital, he killed Toys R Us. So if it wasn't for McRomney and Bain Capital, yes, Toys R Us is slowly coming back, but in smaller stores. But the joke is McRomney killed Toys R Us, but that's a lot of different story. What is your opinion about it? You think it's, I don't know, people like hearing themselves talk, and I'm not one of them.
Wait, what was the question?
Oh, do you think McRomney killed Toys R Us?
Oh my gosh.
And what is your opinion about the whole conspiracy theory?
Um, so I don't necessarily believe in all the conspiracies, but there's always a little bit of truth in all of them, right?
Right.
And it's a matter of figuring out, well, which part is the truth. And so it's one of those where if people really care about the truth, then they need to go find it, right? Versus just spreading more theories. Um, but in the end, when it comes to Mitt Romney and Toys R Us, I don't really know what Mitt Romney's role would have been with Toys R Us, right? Is that what you said, Toys R Us?
Yes.
I don't know what his role would have been, but with today's world of buying things online and all this stuff, I don't think Mitt Romney had anything to do. I mean, maybe in the back end, but in today's world, most people buy stuff online now.
It's true.
And online platforms like Amazon, they make it so easy to also return items, right?
And
I'm not gonna lie, I'm guilty of buying stuff from Amazon because to me it's convenient. If I'm really busy and I just don't, I love shopping though. Don't get me wrong. I am a girl that loves shopping. I will go in person to go look for shoes, clothes, jewelry, things that I need. I love shopping. But at the same time, I'm also busy. So if there's things that I need that I just don't have time or I don't find in person, I automatically default to Amazon. And Amazon makes it so easy where it comes in. If it doesn't work for me, I say I'm returning it. I get a return thing and I take it to UPS. It doesn't cost me anything to return it. So with online shopping, with people's needs changing, places like Toys R Us, Staples, Best Buy, like all of the like Circuit City that went out of business, right? Like all these places that went out of business, if they did not put it into their business plan to figure out how to take care of people online, then yeah, uh, the cost of their lease, right, leasing the building, if they can't get money consumer buying and the cost of their lease is more than what they're bringing in, then of course they're going to start going out of business because these were companies that were housed in big commercial spots, in commercial properties. It's not like they were just in a 1,000 square foot, commercial retail spot. They were in spaces that were 100,000 square feet, 50,000 square feet, and that's not cheap.
no, absolutely. Now we're going overtime. So I stay tuned. Sorry, I had to turn off the timer. So stay tuned. We're gonna be on Instagram and TikTok when we come back from this commercial break. We're wrapping up our interview segment. It was a real honor and privilege being as a guest, having you here as a guest. I hope I made a good impression on you, and I'm looking forward to part two. Our goal is to reach 500 and more views. So if you're watching, like, share, comment, subscribe, and until we meet again, I catch you later. Thank you
Thank you,
and have a
Keith.
good night.